What's up, everyone? In today's episode, we're going over the do's and don'ts of photos.
Vacation Rental Machine helps hosts just like you learn how to start, grow, and scale your short-term rental business. This show is all about creating systems that help you automate your business, giving you more time and money freedom. If you're ready to start living the vacation rental life, then subscribe to this podcast today. Come and join us on our Facebook group, The Host Nation, where we'll be talking about starting, automating, and scaling a short-term rental business. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back, Host Nation. I'm here with Julian Sage, and today we're going over the do's and don'ts of photos and how they make and break your listing.
So, John, I know that after like 30 listings that you have, you've probably learned a thing or two about what makes a good listings photo and a bad listings photo. What is it about Airbnb photos? Because I know a lot of people think like I could just hire any person that has a camera. Maybe I could just take some photos with my iPhone or whatever, and people want to stay with me. But what is it about Airbnb photos that makes them different from maybe just real estate photos or just like anybody that's gonna flip open their phone and start taking photos that way?
Well, as we all are listening to this, we are professional operators. So what that tells us is we really need to show our product off well. To do that, you really shouldn't be taking photos with your phone unless you're a master editor and you know how to get things bright, light, open and airy, and you got the right angles. Most spaces really aren't really good for your phone photos because you're not able to get a wide angle enough to really show off the entire space. So having a professional photographer come in for me is key. I've been working with a few different photographers. I've recently stumbled upon a great photographer who has not only showed off my properties very well. As soon as I post live photos of whatever he does, I instantly start getting bookings that very same day, normally about 5 bookings for that new property. So that tells me that he's doing a great job. That also tells me what shots are better than the other. In Airbnb, we always want to look for that profile shot. And most of the time, it's not really what you might think. Most times it's going to be a photo that's straight on. And the difference between real estate photos and short-term rental photos are just that. Short-term rental photos, you're going to need to take a lot more straight-on shots. People want to know exactly where they're sleeping, where they're laying, where they're going to watch TV at, and not just necessarily standing in a corner of a room trying to sweep across the entire area. Real estate photos, you really don't get the details. You just see maybe somebody standing in the corner of a room, they take a shot and they move to the next corner and they take a shot from that corner. And it's like, hey, this is what you see if you stand here. This is what you see if you stand there. I got a few different examples that I'd want to run through just because my photographer took a vacation and I got somebody else because I was in a rush. This actually cost me $300. So it was a lot of money just wasted. In my opinion, I'm still got the photos posted. Now, this photographer wasn't a bad photographer. Things look great. They're finished the way that I need them finished, but the angles were not what I'm looking for. The actual details and stuff that I think are key. This stuff, if you ever looked at an Airbnb Plus listing, you'll see that they take a lot of detail shots. This is like little stuff, close-ups of things that you just have in the space. People like to see that. They want to feel like the space is somewhat full and not just thrown up with a bunch of IKEA furniture and you just trying to rent it for $180 a night. So let's go into some of that. All right. First off, I'm sharing my screen. This is one of the newest properties that I actually just got listed not too long ago. It's one of the ones I might have actually posted about this one, but my assistant was running all the stuff with this, so I really wasn't there day in and day out. But the build is complete and it's live right now. So this photographer, again, like I said, if you really are a good photographer, you might look at these and say, hey, these are great shots. They show a lot of detail. You can actually see, if we're going from left to right, you can see a lot within like the back setting of all the photos. That's good because it shows somewhat of the space, But what I don't get is that feel of the bed if I'm going from the left to the right. The bed is just kind of like in the room. You really don't get a good chance to really look directly at the artwork that's up there. You don't know what's on the other nightstand. It's just not a great, intimate photo. But you can see that there's two rooms and there's a hallway, so you see space. The actual living room photo, this is normally my go-to profile photo. In this scenario, it's really just a photo from the side, and it's not really showing me a detail of anything. Like, my eye is technically drawn right to the middle. I'm looking outside. I see the couch, but it's not really like grabbing me. The other photo was probably the best one that I got from this photographer, because in the middle one, you don't even see this chair. As you can tell from the other photo, the chair adds a little bit more color, drama, whatever you want to call it. But you also see the kitchen and everything else. As we go back to this bedroom photo, you see, again, it's still not a straight on, but you see the other nightstand, but you kind of should see them both in the same photo. The other photo of the kitchen, I normally love my kitchen shots because they really should be very detailed. This really is decent. It's a good image, but it doesn't really give me the oomph that I normally get from my other photographer. Again, this photographer did a great job. The photos look great. The colors look great. Again, this photographer was not an inexperienced photographer. She was great. She definitely had the right equipment. She took the high dynamic range photos, which basically takes the photo in plenty of different lights and then merges the photo together. That's how you get that good inside to outside image. If you look at the outside, there's some clarity there. There's also very much a clear image on the inside. Let me get into what I prefer for my photos that show, to me, a little bit more detail. And I get a lot more shots. So this photographer really only gave me about 25 photos. That's good, but those 25 photos weren't selected necessarily by me, and they can't really show all the detailed stuff that I have in this place.
So John, what would you do in order to make these photos really stand out and pop for a good listing?
I got great examples, but if I were to do this photo over, I would almost tell this photographer to stand differently. Again, I don't need the corner angles. I mean, everything just seems like mostly a corner, or you're not really grabbing the entire span of the room. Again, my living room photo really should have this chair that's over here on the right photo. So maybe a straight on shot, maybe something that just captures a little bit more of the setting in that one room versus grabbing everything in one photo.
So it sounds really like you're trying to create more of that experience in that photo rather than just highlighting a bed in a corner and a big room, or a big wide open living room with a sofa and table and TV. You're trying to create and invoke that experience. Something that I think would be kind of make the bottom right picture look cool was even if you just put like some spaghetti. You just put some spaghetti that was uncooked in the bottom right photo with maybe like coming out of the pot or something, just adding a little bit more character to it. What do you think of that?
I personally don't want to include anything in the photos that I'm not giving. So if I'm not cooking anybody's spaghetti before they get there, I don't want to put it in there. One of the other things that I do not put in my photos is my welcome gift, because I don't always get it there sometimes. So I don't want somebody to expect it and then it's not there. That's a failed expectation. A welcome gift should be more of a surprise to somebody that comes in. All right, everyone. So now let's take a look at the photos that I prefer for my listing and some of the detail shots that my photographer actually takes of the listing that really show the guest what they're going to experience when they get there or what they're going to see. So one, this is a right example of a bedroom. We got a straight on shot of the bed. To me, this is very, very inviting. I mean, the bed looks long. It's a king size bed. So you can just see it. I think you just want to just jump right on the bed. You can see everything there. You got a desk over to the left. You see the bathroom over to the right, but it's really not the focus here. The focus here is sleep. do I feel comfortable in this room? I can see everything. I can see even the chandelier at the top. So I think that's a great photo. Um, in the middle, we got a very detailed shot of the kitchen. What's different from this photo and the other, it's definitely a little bit of the angle, but you can kind of see the name on the cookware. You can see that it looks very nice. You actually get a good detail shot of the range. This is a very expensive range. So for those people that love to cook, this is going to stand out to them. One of the other things that the photographer does is take a few photos of just random details that I've included inside of the rental. Now, for me, this might not be a big thing, but the photographer actually, with the artistic eye, finds something that he thinks people would want to see. And this is what he takes. Again, I'm not a photographer. I'm not really a great artist either. I do a lot of designs for my places, but this stuff right here, I don't know who's going to really like this, but I liked, hey, I had gold. White goes good with gold and blue. He decided to show that off by taking a photo of it standalone by itself. The other thing that you do have is he's showing you in the bottom left just the span of what's included in the kitchen. Now, this kitchen is very large. There's stuff on the other side as well. But you can see everything from the rice cooker, you can see the spices, the coffee machine, the oil, all the utensils. You see the name brand on the range down at the bottom. So it's Viking range. Again, very nice. See the hood, you see the pot filler. All that stuff is great. In the living room, he was able to pull in all the furniture that's there in the living room. So different from the other shot where they wouldn't have included this red chair, we're able to see this here, but at the same time, he was able to grab this gallery wall that's on the back. And to give some further detail, he took somewhat of an artistic photo over towards the right, showing the gallery wall and a little bar area that we had set up right in the back of the room. So again, this is my top photographer to me. I think all his images are great. I mean, you can look at the lighting and all of this stuff. This place really isn't that light. It's huge. So although it's got windows on the front and back, it really doesn't suck in this much light, but he was able to kind of go around and add some light to it just with the flash of the camera, but still very good. Still the high dynamic range photos that you got with the other photographer. He still has great equipment. Let's talk about some of the equipment that the photographer needs to bring. The most important thing from my experience that a photographer needs to have is a tripod. They cannot stand around and take HDR photos while they're moving, rocking side to side. That photo is not going to look very clear. They need to have a tripod. If they show up without a tripod, you got the wrong guy. Tell them don't do it. Send them home. Don't waste the money because it's not going to be perfect. This has to be perfect. This is your image that you're selling. When people come to your home, they want to see it just like this.
So John, what would you say is a good ratio that people should be putting into their listings for like those, because like that shot in the right corner with the bar and the couch, you know, that's, to me, that's not like a real estate photo. Like when you're looking at a real estate photography, they wouldn't show something like that. That's just like, you know, half of a couch with a little corner of the stair and, you know, that wall with the bar. So to me, that seems like more like an emotional shot. That's like, oh, there's a bar here. Oh, I want to sit down at the bar, or I want to get a drink and maybe sit down on the couch and look at all the art. So to me, that seems more like an artistic thing. How much of those like artistic shots to the, you know, more wide angle descriptive photos would you be putting in the listing?
Airbnb does this thing now where they have this gallery view of photos when you go to it from your computer. I don't know if anybody's really noticed the change. This has kind of happened a few months back. So if you're really just getting in, you just see it as you see it, where you have the main photo and maybe 4 to 5 other photos along with that bannered on the screen. It's good to have shots like this somewhat detailed shot. So when you can see, okay, I see the living room. Now I see this zoomed in section. I see this bedroom over here. You can kind of put a lot more on the front page than you used to be able to, instead of just the one image that you would just see and then click and scroll. So I love those detail shots. My photographer gives me a bunch, and I always have a lot to choose from, and I love it because I'm able to show, hey, here's this workspace, but it kind of has so much drama with it that it's like, I want to work there. I'm going to pull up another photo for you guys. It's going to take me a little bit to pull it, but I just want to show you exactly what I mean. All right. So these two shots to me have so much detail in them. They actually are very inviting. I mean, just from the colors themselves, but that desk, it just kind of speaks to me when I look at this photo. It's like, hey, I really can envision myself working here. It's light, it's high of energy. Like I could just really crank out some good stuff. I can be very productive. The bed here, I mean, just somewhat of that angle, it's going to look great with a full on shot and a gallery view. And it just brings in that extra detail. You can see now, you know, the pillows are a little furry. You see the color contrast. You can see the tray with the remote on it. Very good balance. Like I said, these detail shots are what's needed. Granted, this is a horizontal photo and not a vertical. There's a lot of people that only want to say take vertical photos. But when you're looking at stuff on your phone, it's good to have a couple of these just so somebody can see on their phone this full span. And if you ever go for Airbnb Plus or Lux, they take these photos for you. And they also publish them on their site just so the person on the mobile phone has somewhat of the same experience as the people on the desktop. So don't shy away from them, but your listing should not be flooded with these types of photos.
And I just want to say that I think that what you're doing, John, is just so cool because what I also want the listeners to kind of, if you're watching this on YouTube, then obviously you can see these. But for the people that are just listening on the podcast, you know, John's unit is very dynamic. There's a lot of character to it. It's not just you know, just a very similar or very you know, timid. Like there's some bold things in here. There's like a yellow bedding, there's a yellow pillow, there's a yellow lamp, a yellow chair, and there's a lot of different contrasts with like turquoises and silvers and browns, but it adds a lot of character to it. And I think that the photos do a really good job of bringing to light that character.
Exactly. The photos should definitely portray to the guest that this place is going to wow me. And I want them to see this because this is what they'll see when they walk in. I mean, it looks just like this. I mean, that's the best compliment that you can get is, hey, it looks just like the photos. That means the next person that reads that review, they're not going to be disappointed because people book off of photos. So good detail is key. You never just want to just glance over a place. You don't want to just have 8 photos of your place. I mean, you want to strive to have 15 or more. One of the things on HomeAway, they allow 50 photos. 50 photos. That's a lot of photos. Your other photographer, the one that I got before, I only get 20 photos max. So I wouldn't have enough for 50 photos. But you know what I could really tell with 50 photos? Not that everybody's going to go into all of them, but I really can put everything in those photos. I'm going to make you book because you're not going to stop scrolling on my photos. They're going to be drool worthy. That's what we all need to be putting out.
I think that this is a really good video. If you are planning on hiring a photographer and you're really trying to make a point like, hey, I'm not just looking for real estate photography. I'm looking for, you know, vacation rental photography, these short-term rental photos that are this very specific way, because these types of photos, you're not going to see them. This is the type of photos that you might see in like a designer book. Like if you're flipping through the pages of IKEA, this is probably something that you'll see. This beautiful layout, the very descriptive, it's very warm and inviting. This isn't your traditional real estate photography. This is very more like designer-esque. So finding a photographer that can really find that, like John showed in the previous example, not everybody knows how to do that. You know, it's not something that maybe most photographers are trained in or that they are typically taking. You know, when they have clients, their clients are probably asking for just those wide angle photos that show a lot of the room, that capture the high ceilings and the area, and trying to sell how much space is available, but we're not trying to sell how much space is available. If we were trying to do that, then you would see, corner photos in every room. But here we're seeing, just half of a bed, a quarter of a bed. But you look at that and you say, wow, I want to stay there. I want to sleep there. I want to be there. So this is a really good example of a photo of what you should be looking for with your vacation rental photography. I highly recommend that you save this video, share it with the person that you are hiring. If you are just getting into the space, or you're looking to maybe enhance your photos, share this video with them and let them know, like, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is the level of service that we are trying to provide. We're trying to create this experience for them. So go back, listen to this, show this to them, and take out the parts, because there is a lot of really good information in here that will definitely increase your revenue. This video alone, this episode is going to help you make more money. And if we can do that through this, to be able to make you more money just from your photos and from the experience that you're creating, then that's awesome. Leave a comment if you are taking value from this, if you have been able to increase your bookings from the tips and tricks that you've learned from this video. So John, I know that these photos are a little bit more descriptive. There's a lot more photos that you might be including in there, compared to traditional real estate photos. So what could you expect with a short-term rental photos? What could you expect to pay? And how long would a photographer be taking in order to take these photos?
All right. So I'll start with how long, because my photographer, he takes a good while. I mean, literally maybe 3 hours, maybe 3.5, just depends on how big the property is. I mean, this person is literally probably taking over 100 photos within the property. Each room, he's very meticulous, and he will take maybe 30 photos inside the room itself. So it takes a good amount of time for him to go through a property. I'm confident in him now, so I just let him have access to the property and I don't wait. But the first few times I waited, it was like, oh my God, what is he doing? But he was presenting greatness. I mean, the photos that I got, they were like, oh my God. The other guys that I used to have, I mean, they took maybe 25 minutes and, you got some photos and it just felt like this quick job. Like, hey, I took photos. Here you go. Bye. Give me my money. My photographer cost me about $250 to $300 a property. Now, that's somewhat at a discount for him because we're talking about volume again. So he takes pretty much all my properties that I have. So we probably run into each other at least 6 times a year. So you should be able to negotiate somewhat of a discount with whoever you choose, but plan for them to spend significant time at the property. Again, the wrong photographer won't show up with the tripod and will be there maybe 30 minutes to an hour. And you're not really going to get great photos from that.
So that wraps up this episode, Host Nation, and we have finished up assembling your team, and now we are going to even more exciting stuff. So now we're getting into some of the more nitty-gritty of your pre-listing materials. So getting your first unit ready, and that's going to be coming up in the next episode. So stay tuned. And until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting. Hope you hosts found value in this episode. If you did, please go on over to iTunes and leave us a review, as that would greatly support the show. If you'd like to connect with John, the community, and I, then go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation. Talk to you hosts in the next episode. Keep on hosting.